Welcome back, friends, to my next worm video. As you can see, this is the 2nd of June, and it was 10 days since my last feeding. Gonna dig into it and police up all of this newspaper that's on top. And something that I've noticed the last couple of check-ins on this bin, on bin 2, there's really nice, like, fluffy looking castings just sitting on the top. I'm actually tempted to just scrape that off and just put it in a couple of my potted plants. I may actually just do that next time I open this bin up. Yeah, it's looking really nice. So I'm digging in the right hand side, which is where I fed last, and I'll show you the picture-in-picture of the last feeding on the right hand side in a moment here. Good amount of worms. Looking on the right here, but actually the next check-in that we'll do in this video, that'll show the next feeding after this one, I saw some amazing big worm balls on that one, so we'll see that later in this video. But here they are, my little worms. So I'm kind of I'm glad that I had the two bins, and so this is bin 2, and I'm glad that I'm doing different things with this bin than I'm doing with the other bin, bin 1. Bin 1, I stopped feeding it a few weeks back. I'll pause for the picture-in-picture. Just miscellaneous stuff is lots of cantaloupe and broccoli and stuff. Yeah, bin 1, I stopped feeding it several weeks ago, and I've just been trying to dry it out and get it to the point where I can actually just harvest all the castings out. And something I've learned in doing that, I initially thought it was just clumpy just because of the moisture. But then I figured out, with the help of commenters and trial and error and stuff, part of the problem was I was continuing to add the shredded cardboard in, and if you add that too soon, too close to when you want to harvest, the worms can't eat it up in time, and all of the castings just clump around those small pieces of shredded cardboard instead. So what I'm doing here, something that I'm trying out for the first time, is now adding just really just bigger pieces of cardboard, and I'm actually really happy with the results that we'll see in the same video the next time I check in this bin. The results of me trying this test of putting these large pieces of cardboard in. I mean, when I opened the bin and I could just feel the consistency of the castings, it felt amazing. Like, it did not feel overly wet and moist like both of these bins have been feeling for the last several weeks. I really think this piece of cardboard that I put in really helped a lot. Also, it doesn't have all those extra little pieces everywhere. I don't know what that is, by the way. I just took that out of the bin. There's not all those little pieces to make it clump together. So now I can just pull that cardboard out later, and then this bin is going to be amazing. And this bin has probably twice as much stuff in it than the other bin. So once I'm done harvesting in the other one, and I go to harvest in this one, it's going to be great. I'm going to have like twice as much castings and better, more finished, good castings, because both these been started at the same time. But I've been letting this one go. These worms, I mean, they look a lot healthier than the worms in the other bin, because I've kind of been stressing those ones out a little bit. I'm glad I did the experiment, and I'm glad I've learned everything that I've learned. But I feel like I'm definitely doing a better job in this bin 2 than I did in bin 1. So here is just frozen food that I'm adding. Obviously chopped up broccoli and some leftover rice, and then my crushed eggshells. I usually defrost, or not defrost, but thaw out all of the food. I kind of just forgot on this one, and I was a little impatient. I just took this stuff out of the freezer and threw it in there. I don't think it takes broccoli too long to thaw out, and the results were actually really good later. So I really shouldn't worry too much about that. So I'll go ahead and bury that and smooth everything out, and I'll cover up the bin, and then we'll move ahead to the next feeding in a moment here. I think I can't remember if I just left the paper on this one, or if I covered it with plastic yet. Um, yeah, I think I just left the paper on this one. I did decide to bring in the plastic again after this feeding. So here is 8 days later. So I haven't been the best about doing. My goal initially was to do every 7 days, but it's been 10 days, 8 days. Here you can see the level is very obvious, a lot lower where I just fed. All of that stuff just kind of sank in, and again I'm just scraping off castings off of the top there, just fluffy, good looking castings. It's just like beautiful to see. You can see on the right hand side, it's kind of, there's like still more of that shredded cardboard and stuff from that I've added several weeks ago. And that's why I want to keep feeding this bin. I think I mentioned in the last video for bin 2 that I was going to stop feeding it pretty soon, but I want to keep feeding it until I get rid of all the visible signs of the shredded cardboard. Now here, there's just a massive party of worms on the left-hand side of this bin where I fed 8 days ago. That I got in my hand right there, I think that's some like clumped together rice. I actually wasn't sure. I didn't remember that I fed rice when I was checking this, but now that I see it, that looks like some rice. But here I'm gonna grab another big worm ball. This might be the biggest worm ball I've ever had in my hand. It's just amazing. Look at that. That's beautiful. Just huge ball of worms. So this bin is certainly thriving. I'm very happy with this bin right now, with bin 2. I mean, yeah, look, it's just a massive amount of worms on the left-hand side there. It's really, really cool to see. I actually wasn't sure what to do with these large pieces of cardboard, because they did a really good job of soaking up moisture, as you can tell, because I mean, just looking at them, they're very wet. And I put them in completely dry. I thought about maybe just like brushing all the worms off of them and letting them air dry out, and then putting them back in the bin again next time I check, and kind of just using that as a way to continually extract excess moisture. I didn't do that. I ended up just kind of burying all these pieces and adding a few extra dry ones. And so the new dry ones that I'm adding are obviously going to be soaking up excess moisture. But the ones that are already in here are obviously not going to, because they're already wet. But then that's just, I don't know. I guess it's still just a good source of bedding for the worms if they want to munch on it. Maybe I should take it out so that they have less of that bedding to munch on, and make sure that they eat whatever little pieces of the shredded cardboard from a few weeks ago are still in there. Because obviously you can still see sprinkles of it on the top there on the right. There is still some in there. But it's not making the bin clump nearly as much as before, and as the other bin that I was doing the check-ins on. You could still see that mango pit. That's gonna be in there for a very long time. I'm just gonna have to obviously take that out when I harvest this and put it in my third bin, which pretty soon I should be able to. I'm going to be actually just extracting the worms out of bin 1 and putting it into the new, setting up a new bin and doing that. That should be my next video, is setting up my new bin. I actually went to Home Depot to buy some cocoa core, and they didn't have any there. They didn't have cocoa core at all. Actually, I think they may have had it in bulk. Like a huge bulk bag, which I'm not going to buy. I live in an apartment. I don't have a huge garden or anything. That's a goal for the future. But then, like a 5-pound block of dried cocoa core or anything. They didn't have that at all. So I think I'm going to go to a pet store. I think they have them there. I'd rather just go to a shop and buy one. I guess if I tomorrow, as I'm recording this, tomorrow I'll go out and drive to a pet store and see if they have it. And if not, I'll just go order it online. So as I mentioned, I am adding those new dry pieces of cardboard to help extract the moisture. I actually froze all this food and then I let it thaw completely and I drained all the moisture that came off of it. I really like that. I mean, it takes some time, but I just, let it sit on my countertop. I took a lot of moisture out of that food by doing that. Kind of leaving it in the baggie and kind of tilting it at an angle and just letting all the moisture seep out of it. What that is just chopped ends of some leeks, onions, some potato peels, and strawberries. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm just instead of doing that strategy of taking these pieces of cardboard out and letting them dry so that I can use them again to sop up moisture, I'm just burying them. And just burying them on top of the food there, and then this one I'll bury on the left-hand side right there. Yeah, so we're approaching the end of the video here. I think I've said this before. I'm having a great time making these videos. It's really cool to go along with the process, learning this, learning from you guys who are helping me, like give me comments about stuff and give me ideas. I appreciate you guys for watching. Please hit the subscribe button if you want to follow along. And I appreciate you guys. So I will see you next time. Thanks. Goodbye.